Okay, started the recording, giving a few seconds to go away. Hello, I am Fireswamp, and I am joined by Hypnotic.
Hello.
Welcome to the fifth part of our Creeper World 4 intro, and in this video we will be completing the Ruins Repurposed map. So, first things first, we get a bunch of lore that, in this case, we can ignore, and we can look around the map for what we recognize. So, we have some resource terrain, which we know from the previous mission. We have 4 emitters, none of which are particularly strong. We have a liftic box, we have 4 totems, and we have an info cache. In terms of things we do not recognize, we have these 2 pyramids here, and we also have these 2 spike things. Now, we can't connect to them, so they seem to be friendly, but most of the creeper seems to be kind of bottom and right. So we're gonna try starting top left, especially because we get to start near these spikes. So hopefully we'll get to figure out what they do. So usual thing, build out a quick network. And then place down the command node. Now, as the command node lands, we notice something weird. So we also have a pop-up which is more lore, but as the second that we connected to this spike thing, it produced a massive shield. The other thing is we have one here. So it stands to reason it does the exact same thing. Now, if we had gotten this spike thing, the shield would really help us against this emitter. So we could continue this map, but now that we have some more knowledge about how the map works, why shouldn't we restart? We're 3 seconds into the map. We're going to lose 3 seconds to this, plus however long we want to spend placing the towers. So, we can now, instead of starting in here, we can start next to this spike thing, and if we place right here, we can actually connect to it without, we can connect to it without being too far forward. Okay.
Yeah, and we are still in the demo part of Creeper World 4, so we don't have the save load function quite yet. But when the full game do launch and we do get save and load functions, we highly recommend using them. Especially if you go like 2 minutes into a map and you think, hey, this looks interesting. I want to check that out or try a specific tactic. You can just save the map and do the stuff, do the testing, and just load if things didn't turn out good for you in the end.
So, from here, we got the 2 shields up. We still need to defend, because we know that the shields aren't perfect, so we do need some weapons. And the other thing with shields is that because they tend to pool creeper very much, mortars become very powerful. And the other thing the map is telling us to do, it's telling us to build and select a miner. Now, it's telling us to build one, but we know that if nothing else, the miners can be used for energy production. So, there really isn't any problem with us building more. Like, in this case, 4. Now we are going to a slight deficit, but so we can actually just disable this mortar for now. We'll build it later when there actually is creeper threatening this area. Okay, now some of our mines are starting to end, and once we select it, it's basically telling us to craft some blueite. Okay, well, we're going to craft some blueite, and now it's telling us to build a factory. So we're just going to follow the instructions here. Build a factory. Now, we look at our energy, and we notice it's full. We should be building more miners. More miners, more energy. And usually, more energy, more problems. Not in this game. No. You want all the energy. More energy, less problems. Okay, so now we've completed the factory, and what the game is telling us is that the miners are making blueite and sending it to the factory, and it's producing something called anti-creeper. We don't really know what we're supposed to do with anti-creeper yet, but let's take a look at what it looks like. It's a white box with a black A on it, and we kind of start looking around. We can see the temples that we were paying attention to earlier. First of all, they have a text straight up telling us this, but if we can supply it with anti-creeper, it will do something. We don't know why, but this symbol generally just means this unit is requesting anti-creeper for some reason.
Yeah, and of course,
Okay.
build the towers for the delicious energy production.
Yes. And the other thing is, we have excess energy. More mines.
And it looks like we might be capable of building a nullifier at the emitter behind
Yep.
the shield.
Yeah, so the shield is actually powerful enough that it with some minor mortar support, just keeping the creeper levels down, this nullifier is actually safe. And okay, so now we look back at our factory and we realize we're out of anti-creeper, and this temple's eaten it. Oh, well, before we get into that, our first robot is done, and he's adorable, isn't he? So we have something called an AC robot. Well, let's see what this guy does. Goes over. He hugs an emitter. Apparently he decides it's his new friend.
And you might notice the red dots.
Yes, that's its health, because it's about dead. And it seems to be producing a liquid that is canceling out the creeper. Now, we had built this thing using anti-creeper, so it stands to reason that that is anti-creeper. The other thing we kind of notice is that robot's really good. I want more of them, so I'm going to turn a lot more mines to blue-white. The other thing I'm going to do is I am going to build a connection out to this temple to also produce them out of here, under the assumption that it's the same temple, so it should do the same thing when I give it resources, maybe. And we still have energy, more miners. And usual thing, you've got area for towers, build them. Okay, and this nullifier's gone off. We also want to, so we need to kind of look at where our objectives are. We want to get this emitter down here, the two emitters over here, we're going to push out from the temple. And the objective bottom right, we're going to get that after going through this emitter. So, with all of that, usual thing, we've got some safe space, some safe areas for towers. And at this point, well, actually, before we really get into that, so we have one other major mechanic, and that is balancing your resources. So what we can notice is that our factory here will often go down to 0 AC. And if that happens, you can make more, because these temples, it seems like if you just keep plugging them full of anti-creeper, they will continue making these robots, and these robots are very good. Now, but there's kind of an interesting balance of, when you switch these miners over to blue-white, they're no longer producing energy, and energy is very useful. So, you know, it kind of comes at a cost of, do you want to give up your energy, do you want to give up your energy production for these robots? And in this case, generally yes, these robots are very powerful, so it is worth it to switch over your miners. But if you switch over too many, so if I start stacking up too much, what's going to happen is that the temples just will not have the capacity to produce with that, and now I've got a bunch of miners in effect doing nothing, because they're producing a resource that I can't use that quickly.
Yeah, so if you ever see the factory be completely full of AC, you might want to turn down the AC production and find kind of a sweet spot where
Yeah.
you know that the factory is filled because you have just a little bit more than you need.
Yep. And what I have right now, like, you can kind of see the anti-creeper amount in my factory is still going up, but it's holding relatively steady. So, I mean, I have maybe a bit more, I have a bit more anti-creeper production that I can use, but, I mean, my energy storage is also full, so...
Yeah, once you have covered most of the map with towers, usually you don't really need the energy too much. It's more for the early game. You need to be really observant of these kind of things.
Yeah.
And now, as we can see, the map is slowly collapsing. Here has fire has gotten forces in most places. The robots has put out anti-creep in most places. And this is actually the last story mission in the demo. The next maps in the demo are more to show off new mechanics and, of course, be demo maps. They have different kind of they have different difficulty levels. They don't ramp in the same way as the story mission do. So it's kind of more like some of the maps can be more difficult than the others. And we are also going to change up what we're talking about. We're going to go into more details in how to actually utilize different mechanics and different tactics, like more an advanced guide. And of course, if you at any point do have trouble and get stuck on a map, don't hesitate to reach out at the Discord. The Nuggetcracker Discord is a friendly place where you can most likely get help. So of course, jump by and say hello if that's all you want to do as well. And at this point in time, we kind of just need to do the last few things, get the nullifiers done, get the totems filled as well.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing I'm going to mention is that these the missions that we've done so far are intended as the story missions. So, in terms of difficulty, this is what you should expect from the first few story missions, and you should expect a slow ramp up for most of the remaining. You should expect a slow ramp up for most for the rest of the game. However, as we said, the missions in the demo are kind of balanced around being much later, and also that the community is known for creating some absolutely evil levels. If you are interested in much harder levels, trust me, the community will deliver.
Indeed, indeed.
If no one else, Hypno here will deliver.
I might make a few maps, but
Might?
I'm gonna make.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I didn't connect to the lifting
Don't
box.
worry,
Oops.
I'm gonna make them relatively easy. Don't worry. At least in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning. But yeah, at this point, we're mostly just waiting for the totems to activate, so we can turn to 4X.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing with the AC, especially right here. We can see the AC.
Yeah.
That's gonna be so fun to play around with.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
And with that, we have completed Ruins Repurposed. See you next time.
Bye.